Welcome,
Thank
Sunshine.
you very much, Dave. It's nice to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, you're welcome. So you're an illustrator?
I am an illustrator, mostly children's books, but I do all kinds of illustration as well.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, so where's the start of your journey?
Way back when I was young. No. So start of the journey. Look, I'm not going to go into like childhood or anything like that. It's just there's too much to go into there. But I never really had like any passion or focus or like I went to uni doing graphic design because I'm like, well, that's kind of arty. I knew I wanted to do something in the arts, but I'm like, I want to make money. I want to be able to live and eat and yeah, this is where I've ended up. Anyway, I wanted to live and eat and whatever. And I'm like, okay, graphic design is a kind of art that you can make money from, right? Okay, cool. Let's go study that. I hated it so much. It's so like within a box. Everything is within a box and you kind of can't like go out of that box without someone being upset with you. So I'm like, okay, graphic design, cool. So I finished my my degree and everything. I started working for a little bit and graphic design is so much more corporate than I was expecting. And that's part of the reason I hated it is because everybody was so sad and so angry. And I'm like, I don't think I can do this. I don't think I can be this person that you've got here in these places. Like I was going for these jobs and the people just didn't feel like they wanted me to work there. I'm like, okay, I tried it for a little while and I hated it, absolutely confirmed that graphic design was not my thing. Then I actually went back into retail. I'd been working in a shop while I was at uni and I'm like, well, they offered me assistant manager and it was more than what I was making doing graphic design, which I hated. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go do that. That's really easy. Cool. And then kind of had a little midlife crisis as a wee baby going, oh, what do I do with my life?
You seem a bit young to have had a midlife crisis.
It wasn't a midlife crisis. It was a very early on crisis, okay? I mean, I do tell people that I'm 114 though, Dave, so maybe it was a midlife crisis. I don't know. Yes, so from that point, I faffed around for a bit, did my midlife crisis, didn't know what I was doing with my life. I'd always done art though, like I'd always painted and drawn and had that side of myself because that was really the only thing I was very good at when I was a kid. It was like I was better at art. I wasn't good, but I was better. Anyway, I had a friend of a friend approach me with this idea of creating a children's book. And I'm like, okay, I can do that. That sounds really fun. Let's do it. So I co-published with her that children's book called Monty Sea Turtle Learns to Swim with my lovely author, Cara Lauder. Oh, sorry, she's something else now, but she was Cara Lauder at the time. And that went really well. And I had a publisher call me in to have a chat to me, Paul Collins from Ford Street Publishing here in Melbourne, and we're still good friends years later, but he kind of started me on that journey. Like he didn't take the book or anything like that, but he kind of introduced me to that whole world of publishing and children's book illustration and writers and authors and all these amazing people within that group. Everyone was just so nice. Like I'd come from graphic design where everyone was poo heads. And then I'd come into this amazing industry of children's book illustration and children's books and publishing. And everyone was just so nice. Like there was people that had been doing children's books for years. I remember one of my good friends, Serena Geddes. She was one of the first people to speak to me about it. First time I was there. And she's like, yeah, everyone's really supportive. If you need any help, please let me know. And I'm like, I love you guys. This is great. And I'm like, yes, this is the thing I want to do. That was the aha moment. But the problem was, Dave, that I sucked. Like I was not good. If you look up Monty Sea Turtle Learns to Swim, like, it's fine. It's an early reader children's book. It's still a good book for what it is, but I needed to get better. Like, what I was doing wasn't...
Have you been too critical there on yourself?
I don't know. I think when I look back at my work back then, you know, I definitely needed to get better, in my mind anyway. From there to where I am now is just huge, vast swathes of difference. Anyway, I set about doing that, and that's kind of where my art journey started, realistically, because I'd found something I wanted to do. And so before that, like, I never really tried very hard at anything because I didn't have the passion there and I didn't care. Whereas I'd finally found something that I really cared about and I'd found a passion for. Like, I don't know who finds their passion at 18 when they leave school. Like, who does that? Like, nobody.
Lucky people.
I know, right? But I finally found mine, and it just kind of, it went from there, and it was lovely. And I've been on this journey for like the past 8 years or so. And as I've been going along, I actually started my business up doing graphic design and illustration. And then slowly but surely I swapped over. I actually did the NICE program. Do you know the NICE program?
Yeah, I'm familiar with that.
Oh,
yeah.
fantastic. Yeah, cool. I did the NICE program, and that was really great. And I did my graphic design business with the illustration, and the illustration took over and just kind of went from there. And slowly but surely it's built up and kind of spread out a bit, I suppose, because I'm doing lots of things that kind of complement what I'm doing as a children's book illustrator that sort of feed into everything else. So like all the social media, all the Twitch stuff, all the YouTube, everything feeds into that kids book stuff. Because I wouldn't say that because I work a lot with self-published authors or indie press authors, because I love it, because they're so passionate about what they do. I'm not so much of your traditional illustrator, I suppose, because mostly traditional kids book illustrators would work with publishers more, and that would be what you do, whereas I'm very hands-on, one-on-one.
So does that mean that like an illustrator would be like employed by a publishing house and
often you don't
like
even get
illustrate
to
this book?
You don't even get to meet the author usually. They're just like, we want this direction, go make it please, which is fine, and I'm happy to do that. That's cool. But the process that I enjoy is working with the self-published authors, because that's a journey that we go on together. You know, they're part of the process every step of the way. So it is a collaboration, and I really like that aspect to it because I like people. So there you go. That is the Sunshine Journey.
I'd imagine working for a publishing house would be a little more lucrative.
No, not at all. Not at all. I mean, I won't go into specifics about it, but it's a lot less working with a publishing house because you're expected to have royalties mixed in with that the whole way through. But in reality, you usually don't get royalties. So having a payment up front from a self-published author is a lot more lucrative because you are paying for that one-on-one experience of creating the book. And then at the end, you don't have the complexity of them having to work out the royalties after they've sold the book, you know.
Briefly explain the royalty thing, why you don't get the royalties. I mean, we spoke about this before we started. But I think it's an interesting thing.
Some people might, like really famous illustrators might get the royalties, but I don't. So you get something that's called an advance when you first take on a book from a publisher. It might be like $2,000 or something. If you're a bigger illustrator, like a really famous illustrator, it might be a bit different. It might be more money than that. So I don't think Sean Tan would work for $2,000 up front, you know. And then what happens with the royalties, that only happens after you've made enough money back to cover that advance. So I think it's like you get, standard is like 8% of the sale price of the book is what you get as a royalty. And so once that royalty has been paid back from the sale of that book, then you'll start making royalties on top of that. But because in Australia especially, the turnover in publishing is so much, is so frequent, you rarely get royalties. And also, if your book doesn't sell enough, it's like, well, you're not going to make royalties, particularly if they do a short run, which they might only print 500 books. And then you're not going to get a royalty from that, you know?
Yeah, that is quite a short run.
Yeah, exactly. So it's interesting. It's really interesting. I don't work with authors, though, that I don't think aren't going to make money. So I will only work with people that I think have the nous or the personality to sell their book, because I'm only as good as my last book. I think it's very easy to go, yeah, I'll take your book for every book, but I want that book to work for them, you know? Unless it's like a personal project or something, then that's a bit different. But if they want to sell their book, and I think they've got the personality to do that and go to schools and really push their book to make it sell, then I will work with them. And if their book's good.
So what makes a book good? What makes make you not want to illustrate a book?
I've read a lot of children's books. It's definitely a feeling for me. It doesn't necessarily have to be edited amazing. It doesn't necessarily have to rhyme perfectly. All these things that publishers want. I just need to see the images coming up when I read it. So when I read a children's book, if I get that imagination of what's happening in the book and I see these beautiful characters and these beautiful images and things going on in the book, then I'll illustrate that book. Because it just means I'm inspired by that book, and it's obviously woken something up in me that I can see it working. But again, I'm not going to say yes to a book if the author's not going to be someone that will promote the book, because they have to sell it at the end. Yeah. Self-publishing, because I don't want them to get to the end and go, oh, what do I do now? Because that's all part of my service, is that I help them get out there. Like, I don't do it for them, but I have all the know-how, because I've been in self-publishing so long, to let them know what they can do to make their book a success. Whether they do it or not is up to them. But I at least want their consent at the start of the process that is something that they're going to work towards.
Has it happened that you've illustrated a book and it's never eventuated?
Oh yeah, many times. Like, I can't push someone to do that. You know, I can just suggest things. But the thing is, you know, I really want their book to sell, because I am only as good as my last book. And if people don't see my books out in the world, then they're going to be like, who the hell is Sunshine? She makes books, but I never see these books. And it does happen quite frequently, because I get it. People get busy and it's hard. Self-publishing is actually really hard, and you do have to really have a passion behind your book. I know so many people that have done really amazingly with their own books, though. Like Adam Wallace is a really good example of that. He's a good friend of mine, but I think it was he self-published like 10 books before he got picked up by a publisher. And he did really well. He does really well with his self-published books, because he makes all the money back. Like, he doesn't have to worry about just that 8% that he's getting for the royalties. Like, when he works with a publisher, it's good publicity for him. Like, he works with really big, awesome publishers now, like Penguin and, you know, all the big ones, which is great. But he started out as a self-publishing author, and he just made it work for him. Like, he's very vivacious and very hardworking, but it is tough. It's really hard. But if my authors are wanting to take on that challenge and they say that they're ready for that, then cool, let's make a book.
Have you ever just taken on the whole thing and done the writing?
I haven't. No, I'm working on it at the moment. I'm working on a children's book with my dog, Trip the dog, creating a children's book called The Great Guinea Pig Caper. And that's actually kind of based on a lot of my Twitch followers. So we have, Twitch is a live streaming service, which you may already know. But on this live streaming service, people get rewards for watching me and spending time with me. And they gain these channel points, what they call channel points. Hey, truck, shush.
What is that?
I think it's just a truck stopping at the light.
Oh, wow. No, that's something else.
He's just eating something.
I think they're doing some work back there.
Oh, no!
Let me deal with this. I'll be back.
I'm like, wow! Something exciting is happening. Please don't die. Everything was going swimmingly until Dave tripped over the cord.
I left it all running too, if you don't mind.
It's okay. I did have a little chat to the camera, you know.
Where were we? Now
I don't know. Twitch.
Twitch, yeah.
Twitch with the redeems and stuff and my book. That's right. Okay. Yes. So there's a redeem on my Twitch channel called Guinea Pigify Me. And what that means is I take someone, say it's you, Dave. We take your visage and we turn it into a guinea pig. Like we art a guinea pig.
Oh.
Yeah. Make you into a little guinea pig cartoon. And I've done this with hundreds of my followers on Twitch. And I want to put all of them into a book. Like, obviously, they're not all going to have talking parts because there is hundreds of them. But there is at least going to be one scene where every single guinea pig is going to be represented. Anyway, there's a book called The Great Guinea Pig Caper that I'm working on. Basically, the reason it hasn't happened yet is because I've been trying to upskill. I'm still trying to get good enough to transfer what's in my head onto the paper. Mostly all the things that I do now that are in my head go onto the paper, but because this is a little bit more, it's almost like Graham Basey. That's sort of what I'm thinking it's going to look like really detailed, beautiful illustrations that are going to take a really long time. I just haven't had the skills yet to do that. But slowly but surely, we are getting there. And eventually, I'm going to do the whole process of that and sell it online and hopefully sell it on Twitch. And it's going to be great. I'm excited about it.
Yeah. So I'm curious, how do you write a children's book? How do you know what idea is good?
I mean, with me, I always start with the pictures. Like, I do pictures. That's my main thing. Trip the dog is the main wordsmith, obviously, but we've worked together. It's hard when you're a pictures person, honestly. I'm not good with words, not written words. I'm not bad with the talking words, like the blah, 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 blah. But I'm not good with the written word. A lot of my vocabulary can be very young. And I guess that's a good thing for children's books. But any other time, this is the most complicated writing that I've ever done. And I found that really, really, really hard. But I guess it's one of those things, you just upskill. If you don't, that seems to be the mantra of my career is, if you don't know how to do something, then learn how to do it.
Figure it out.
To make it work. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm a really slow learner. So that's been tough along the way. But yeah, it's one of those things. You just work out how to do it. But usually if I'm writing things, and I think it's natural for any illustrator to write things at the same time because, we're always writing backstories for characters in our heads. We're always writing all kinds of things as we go along, I mean, visual storytelling has so much more behind it, particularly in children's books, than what's on the page written, because you only get, 5 lines of text, and then you have to interpret that in such a way that's going to make sense for the reader. So you are telling little stories inside that page that's apart from the story that's actually being told on that particular page. So we are good at telling stories, but we're just not good at the wording the stories. So I feel like I do much better at telling a story visually without any words. I'd be fine to do a book like that, but I thought it definitely needs the words as well. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess a picture book, Does that not work for kids?
Just pictures.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it does. I haven't had time to do that, Dave. I'd love to do that, but it's one of those things. Like a lot of my own projects kind of get shunted to the side a little bit because I'm so busy doing everything else. Like everything else is my own project too, I suppose, because I work for myself. But there's things that are in place to, eventually make money or do make money, and it's that residual income stuff that I focus on a lot. Because I have to make money, Basically, the children's book illustrations at the moment are funding pretty much everything. But eventually, I'd really like everything to start funding more of the children's book illustrations so I can do more of my own books.
So this is like Twitch, YouTube, kind of...
exactly.
And giving you an income so you can...
as well, because I don't want to stop working on other people's books because I find so much joy in that. I have a lot of joy working with other people, and I don't think I could ever stop doing that because it's such a... I can't explain the relationship between author and illustrator, or at least the way that we work, or I work with that author. It's just really lovely, and I don't think I'd want to give that up. But eventually, I'd really like the Twitch to be making more money and the YouTube to be making more money, to have that as a residual income coming in. That's what I'm sort of working towards. Like I'd love to be that go-to person that everyone goes, oh, Sunshine. I know Sunshine. Yeah. She does those cool videos online. She's that fancy lady with flowers in her hair, That would be great eventually.
So how's that going so far?
Really great. Yeah? I love it. I think you know what it's like. To be an artist, you have to be a little bit crazy, right? You have to be there's something a little bit crazy. We're not quite right, us artists.
I agree.
We work a lot, like a lot. And I'm working a lot at the moment, but I'm loving every second of it. Like I love creating YouTube episodes and experimenting with that and learning about, I've learned so much about coloured pencils through doing my coloured pencil reviews and just kind of working out how to surf that wave of social media and online content in such a way where it's going to be successful, but it's also something that I still want to do. So it's kind of, I've been taking a lot of time recently to spend time looking at the social media stuff, working out what works and what doesn't, and trying to apply that to my own work and tweaking it slightly so it hopefully will be successful. Give it the best chance you possibly can. Got to turn on that business brain a little bit. But it also needs to be something that I'm okay doing. Like I could never do the YouTube videos, which are just like, hello everybody, I'm on YouTube. Like really intense THC sort of stuff, just I'm giving away $1 million. I don't have $1 million to start with to give away. So, I mean, that's a problem. But
you start with $10 if you want.
Work
your way up.
That's true. But I don't know that I want to do that. I don't know. It's tricky, but it's going well. So far, what I'm doing is going well. Starting to get the views up on YouTube. I think I'm starting to connect with people a little bit. I think YouTube's one of those places that you kind of try stuff until it sticks, you can kind of see what's going to be more popular and what's not being as popular. And you're like, well, I'm going to do more of this sort of stuff because that is more popular than this thing. So we'll keep going with that. It's definitely a numbers game. Twitch is similar. I love Twitch. I love everyone on Twitch. It's like having a whole nother family. It's really weird.
Is the YouTube and Twitch targeted at kids?
No, not at all.
Okay, all
not
right.
at all. Actually, a lot of my viewers are not children. Most of my viewers are not children, which is good because we do talk about things that are grown-up things. I don't really swear. Like I'll call people poo faces.
I noticed that.
But we do talk about grown-up stuff, like we're adults, but we're just trying to keep it a bit classy, I'm a lady. Sort of, most days.
So what made you kind of not want to target your YouTube channel to kids? Because I'd imagine...
I did initially.
Yeah.
I did initially try and target it to kids, but it's not the kind of content kids want to watch. When kids want to watch content, it's that wah in your face YouTube content. Who I'm really targeting at the moment is other artists. So people that will watch through 20 minutes of a pencil review, you know. Eventually I'd like to have a bit more of that, kind of do the jazzer route a little bit maybe. But I don't know. I don't think my content is children's content, which is interesting because I do create children's books. But at the same time, the people that buy children's books are usually not the children. Like the kids will say, oh, I love this book, whatever, but it's the adult that makes the decision whether they're going to buy that book or not. So I guess I'm more catering to them than anything else.
So when you're say doing a book, to go back to the publishing and the illustrating and all that, when you're doing a book, you're making a book for kids, but you're selling it to adults.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I'm like, it seems like a kind of a balancing act there. Like how...
Absolutely, yeah.
What do you take into consideration when like coming up with a story or the style of illustration or anything like that?
So I am quite versatile in my styles. So when you sent me some questions, one of them was how did you find your style? And I don't think I've got a specific style because I am so versatile, and every book that comes into me, I'm like, oh, that would look great like this, or that would look amazing like this. And sometimes I have books come in that I'm like, I don't know how to do the style of illustration that I'm thinking. I better work out how to do that if I want to do this book. That's happened a few times. So it's kind of, when I get a book come in, I do see the style in there, but it still has to have the fundamentals in it. Like you still need to have expressions that children can understand. So big faces, big smiles, big eyes, sad faces, you know, it has to be really basic in that form of storytelling. The visual storytelling is all the same principles apply. But the art, particularly for the cover, has to be, I guess, targeted to the adult. So whether that, in my experience, I'm sure it's totally different for every children's book illustrator, but so whether that means that the art needs to be a bit more sophisticated. Like it also depends, I take into account where the person is selling it. Like when it's all finished, where are they going to sell this? Are they, you know, an executive that is going to sell to all their executive friends? Perhaps then we'll have a bit more a sophisticated modern look. Or is it a mum and she's going to sell it to all the other mums? So the look's going to be a bit more childlike and simple, you know? Does that answer the question?
Kind of. I have a few more because
okay.
I just thinking about it now, like, so you got a parent, you're selling to the parent of a child, right? And now, let's
both.
say a parent buys a book for their child, and you know, a book by Sunshine.
Yeah.
And you know, the kid's going to pick it up and either really enjoy it and want to read it like 10 times, or they're just going to look at it once and just not be that interested. And that will mean like that will determine what happens with your next book. Like if the kid loves it, mum or dad's going to see another book by Sunshine.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, ideally, you hit that middle point where it does both.
Yeah.
That's the sweet spot, if you will. It's easier said than done. But sometimes you don't hit it, but sometimes you do. Or most of the time I do, which is great.
So, and how much of your art does that dictate? Like
a lot.
Yeah.
A lot. Yeah. I mean, as I say, I don't really have a style because the art style will really depend on the book. Honestly, it changes so much. I am lucky enough to be relatively versatile that you can see, but you can still see that it's my work. It's really weird. Like if I put 3 different styles in front of you, you would still be able to tell it's my work, which is really interesting to me. I'm like, really? Okay, cool.
Do you ever feel like, I don't know, a little bit like I don't know, like you're cheating yourself? You might want to illustrate it a certain way, but you know it if you illustrate it another way, it'll sell better?
I think that's where your business mind and your personal preferences have to coincide a little bit, because I can only do what I do because I make money out of it. If I didn't make money out of it, well, I couldn't do it because I would be starving, you know. There's definitely a balance to that as well. Like, how much am I willing to sacrifice to put into this book to make it work? And sometimes those books I won't do, you know. If there's too much that I'm sacrificing of what I'm happy with, then it's not worth it for me. Because I every single book that I put out, I'm happy with and I love it. And I don't ever want to feel like, ugh, you know, that it just doesn't read to me, you know. Or it's so far away from what I do that I hate it. And I don't ever want to be in that position. So I think, again, it's balance. It's finding that balance. I mean, I have my own artwork that I can be me.
That was my next question.
You know, yeah, exactly. In those few moments that I have to myself, which is very small these days, unfortunately, building an empire takes time. I do my own artwork, and that satisfies that craving, you know.
What are you making?
Just drawings, mostly things I can't do in the kids' book sphere.
I was thinking in my head, I reckon Sunshine is probably going a little bit dark.
Definitely.
With the personal
we call
work.
it on Twitch Sunshine After Dark. That's the Sunshine After Dark section. I do love doing pinups. I love doing nudes. I mean, I love the work of Milo Manara, and I've literally got a list of people that I love, but most of them are really kind of edgy people that do nudes. You know, I love H.R. Geiger. His stuff is really weird, like super weird stuff, but I love that, and I'd love to be able to do what he does. But like that kind of experimentation and sauciness, I suppose.
So does it still have that kind of whimsy? Do you keep that whimsy of
totally.
children's illustrating?
It's still got elements of it's still Sunshine's artwork, you know. It's still got the big eyes. It's still got all that stuff to it, you know. It's still me. It's just got a bit more grunge to it, and no one is ever going to see it.
That's it. Yeah. So
it's not something that I can share on Instagram or anything like that. As a kids' book illustrator, you know, I am chaste. Well, not exactly, but
so you have to kind of, I guess, censor yourself a little bit.
To an extent. Yeah. Like, I mean, I am a children's book illustrator. I do workshops in schools. I am a wholesome content creator. I feel like there's enough bad stuff in the world, and there's enough bad stuff online, that I want to create a place for people to come and just chill out and have something that is a bit wholesome, that is a bit, I don't know, just easy. Because I just feel like there's so much of that out there. Just a safe space is nice to have, and I want to maintain that for myself as well, because you do get bombarded by everything. Like, everything is about sex, and everything is about, you know, everything sex related sells, which is great. But I also don't want to do that, because I want to maintain that safe space for myself and my followers and the people that watch me. And I think that's all part of it. I don't censor myself specifically because I am a children's book illustrator. And I do a little bit for that, but mostly it's just because who I am and who I want to be, and how people view me as well, and like how I make other people feel by being there. That's a big consideration to me. It's not to say that I'm a prude. I'm definitely not a prude in my real life, like, you know. But I'm not a prude online either, realistically. Yeah. I'm happy to talk about all those kind of so much PC topics, but to an extent, you know. We won't dive too intensely into it, like go into kinks or, you know, that kind of thing. It always is sort of surface level when it comes to that stuff. But I think it's still important to be able to talk about that. And you wouldn't necessarily want your children watching me because I do talk about that stuff, but you at least know I'm not going to swear. Like,
have you ever considered making an adult's book with your...
I have.
Yeah?
I have considered doing an adult's book, particularly when I first started. That really appealed to me. Like, I was mad keen on artists like Mab Graves and, you know, lowbrow pop surrealist art at that time. And I really wanted to create something from that sphere, but I don't know if I'm so drawn to that now. I just think there's so much of that out there of other people doing it better. And I just like, I can't be bothered. It's a saturated market, and it doesn't really appeal to me in that way unless I just do it for myself, you know? I don't think it's adding anything to the world to do that, you know? If I'm going to add things to the world, which I am, I guess, with my online content, I want it to be stuff that people really resonate with. That's just, it's a bit of a hole in the market at the moment because wholesome is just, it's weird and unusual now, you know? And I kind of like that.
What drives this desire to make the world a better place? You've mentioned it a few times.
I have no idea. Honest to goodness, I have no idea. But I feel like, like I've seen a lot. You know, I'm 114. Come on. I've seen a lot in my time. And I just feels like there's so many people that are struggling and you just don't know. Like, I worked in retail for such a long time, and the amount of times people just broke down in front of me because they're just having a bad time. It's like, well, why does it have to get to that? Like, where are the spaces for these people to go? Like, yes, there's therapists, and therapy is great, guys. Make sure you do therapy. It's really good. On to the therapy. But it's, I don't know. I just feel like there needs to be places and spaces for people to just coexist and not have to like fight for their position to be there, you know? Like, everything's either too political or everybody hates each other because of their opinions. I don't care what your opinion is. You want to wear your undies on your head? I don't care. That's fine. Just chill out and be a nice human, and that's awesome. And I just think it's kindness. It's just breeding kindness. And I just feel like there needs to be more kindness in the world. So that's, I don't think I want to save the world. It's just, I think everyone's so negative and there's so much bad stuff happening anyway. It's just like, be nice, man. It's not that hard, right?
So like from looking at your work, you kind of steer away from any kind of, I guess, political issue subjects, and
it's mostly imagination based.
You're stuck in whimsy, which I love.
Yeah,
everyone loves whimsy.
Exactly.
Even just saying the word whimsy is great.
It's all stories.
Yeah,
I love stories. That's, I think, the thing, and I think we all tell ourselves stories, whether it's bad or good, or, you know, no matter what's happening in our lives, we can look into a story and be like, oh, you know, it takes us out of this world, which sometimes isn't a very nice place, and puts you somewhere else that is nice, you know, and you can do and be whatever you want to be. Yeah. And
I'm curious about the art you consume.
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. Art I consume.
I hate saying it like that, but I don't know.
No, I know what you mean, though. Yeah. I mean, I do go to galleries and that sort of thing, more so when I'm like on holidays, you know, I'll go to the Mona or whatever. But yeah, more of the art I consume, I suppose, would be art books. I have a lot of art books of artists I really love. One of my favorites is Paul Kibbe. He's Terry Pratchett's current illustrator. I mean, Terry Pratchett isn't around anymore, but he is one of my favorite illustrators, and I consume a lot of his artwork through social media and through videos and all kinds of different things. What's the name? Peter Gurney? No, what's his name? did the Dinotopia stuff. Hang on. I wrote down every name.
You can look it up.
I wrote down every name last night because I'm like, I'm not going to remember anybody's name. So I made a list. This is my day-to-day life, everybody. I have to make a list. Otherwise, it's just gone. I'm like a fish. I'm like a goldfish. It's terrible. James Gurney. There you go. Close. James Gurney, he did all the Dinotopia stuff, and he's actually quite popular on YouTube now. Like, he's quite big. He does a lot of drawing tips and a lot of painting tips, and he's fabulous. He's fabulous. I consume a lot of his art. Mostly it's online content, though, just because I kind of don't get time to go out into the world and look at art. It's really sad.
Now I'm embarrassed. I'm not familiar with any of those names.
My gosh, what are you doing, mate?
The art that they make, does it have that whimsy in it as well?
Definitely.
Okay, that's what I was curious.
Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've got a heap. Do you know Graham Base?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's similar whimsy. James Gurney has similar whimsy to that. I mean, I love a lot of the older style illustrators like A.A. Milne and, from Winnie the Pooh, and Beatrix Potter, obviously. I really love that style of illustration, it's totally different to what I do. Like, it's more effortless and just sort of really gives that shape to dreamlike quality about them. And I just can't do that. And I think that's because I'm very intense with what I do. Like, I'm not like a soft-handed person. I wish I was, but I'm really not. Like, I'm very heavy-handed with everything. It can be a bit crude sometimes, so I'm almost leaning more into multimedia stuff at the moment because I'm like, you know what? Let's just use a bit of this and a bit of that and a bit of this to make it look the way I want it to look. Whereas, 6 months ago, I would have said, yes, I mostly do watercolour artwork, but the way I use watercolour isn't the way most people use watercolour. I'm really like, it's quite detailed and it's not the watercolour, the way you let watercolour do its thing. I don't do that. I'm very controlled with my watercolour. But now I'm like, yeah, multimedia is great. It's awesome. I can do the watercolour for the background and blah, 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 blah. Anyway, but I'm very heavy-handed, and that suits really well to the multimedia style because I can just keep building it up until it looks like what I want it to look like, which is nice.
I want to go back to something you said earlier about illustrators, some getting paid a lot, some getting paid not very much.
Yeah.
So what's the difference in the work there, do you think? Is there a difference in the work, or is it just a bit of luck?
I think it's both. There is definitely a lot of luck in art, I think. I mean, I wish we were all born super rich as artists because that would make our lives so much easier. We could do whatever we wanted and it'd be great. We'd be so successful. It'd just be amazing. But unfortunately, we are not. Sadly. I mean, sorry, can you rephrase the question again for me? I've gone on a tangent.
I guess to rephrase it is, what's the difference between a good children's illustrator and a great one?
Oh, yeah. Okay, so I think they all get paid for their worth. Definitely, there's definitely payments. You get paid more if you're better at what you do, and you can really tell. Like, if you look at Fiverr compared to a professional illustrator, what you get in quality of work is just exponentially better. But there's also, within the professional illustrators area, which I am in, there's also other people that would get paid more just because of the work they do. So whether it's they've got that visual storytelling real down pat, or there's some nuances in their characters that just makes them really attractive to people. There's definitely people that just get it, which is awesome for them. And I think we all need to hold each other up. I think that's great that they've found that thing that people want. It's that balance of what people want and what you want to create or what you happen to create. They do sometimes get paid more. But in saying that, the median income for an illustrator that does really well, I went to a conference of, and she makes $55,000 a year. It's minuscule.
That's an average.
That's an average.
Oh.
Yeah. So even the super popular ones would make about that amount of money. It'd all be under $100,000 though. Like you wouldn't make more than that unless you had other income as well. Or unless you went for different avenues and you expanded your base. And it's just one of those things. You have to become really versatile if you want to make more money. And I think for a lot of illustrators, that's okay. Like if you've got a partner or something that can help you out and, you don't have to be the main breadwinner or whatever, that's great and awesome to make that much money. But for me, being by myself, it's not a lot. It's not a lot of money, So all of these other avenues and things, I'm trying to leverage off, I suppose, the other things that I'm good at. And so I'm kind of branching out into other areas. Otherwise, I just can't do what I do. I just can't live and eat and pay rent. It's awful. It's awful that artists have to think about that. You just don't make a lot of money as an artist. And some people do, which is great and awesome. And wouldn't we all be that lucky? Because I think a lot of it is luck. But yeah.
I mean, in some ways you can make your own luck.
Totally.
You've got to be out there and
that's right.
And
make your
people
own opportunities as well. Yeah.
And all that. But is one of the things I haven't seen, whether you do or not, is exhibiting your originals, selling them.
I used to.
Yeah.
Many years ago. I do sell my originals, but it's online. So pretty much I'll have people either ask for commissions or they'll go onto Instagram and be like, I want that. I'm like, cool. That's easy. Sweet. I haven't spent any time doing that in probably the last 5 years, exhibiting wise. I would like to get back into it this year. I just found it was a lot of effort for not much return. While you do meet people there, and I really enjoyed mingling with other artists, other local artists at those events. I've just run out of time to do that. Yeah. Realistically, I'd like to get back into it though. It is something that I've been thinking about over the last few years. Like I'd love to enter some prizes and things, but I don't know if my work's good enough for that. Like children's illustrating prizes or just art prizes? In general. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like it's one of those things. I've never settled as an artist on a thing that I love about my art. I'm always like reaching for the next thing or reaching to be better at something. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but that's just how I am. So like I'll think something's amazing and then a week later I'm like, but I can do better on this. And then I'll go and do that. You know what I mean? So by the time I actually exhibit anything, I'm like, ugh.
Sometimes I think as, creatives and artists and whatnot, we need other people to tell us.
Yeah, true.
And just accept what they say because you're always going to pick apart
it's true.
Your own work, that's rough on you because if you illustrate something for a book and you don't like
books are different, I think, because they're not as personal for me. Like something that I would exhibit in an exhibition would be much more personal. So it's a little bit of Sunshine's heart on a canvas, whereas I put a little bit of my heart into someone else's dream. Do you know what I mean? Because my author has come to me and it's their idea and it's their book, baby. I'm not putting as much of myself into that, not as emotionally invested in it. I'm very invested, but I'm not going to cry about it, But that just seems to make it easier. Like I know it's beautiful and I love it and I don't let anything go that I don't like, even if, because of the time that it takes to illustrate it, even if I go, that one there. Like I do redo pages a lot because that'll happen during the process. I'm like, I could do that better. So everything I put out is the best version it can be. And I do love all of my books still. It's just kind of like a little snippet in time. But if it was my own book, I think it would be really different. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
I think we're all very judgmental of our own work.
Oh, definitely.
You know, the things
the
that
worst
we're really,
critics.
Yes, totally. Emotionally invested in. It's like, it's really hard.
Do you see in the future maybe going down the fine art road?
I would love to.
Yeah.
I would love to, but I just don't think I've got the connections to do that. Like, my audience and the people that buy my work are normal people, you know, like they're just, you know, they're mums and they're people that work, you know, and that I don't know that I want to go into that world either, because I like that I communicate with the normal people, you know, the average worker can be able to afford my art and see what I do to create it and interact with me. And I don't know, it would be great. I would love that. I feel like if I had the connections to do that, I would love to do that, because I think that world is very shiny and fancy, and I'd love a little bit of that glitz and glam. But I don't think it would connect with who my audience is at the moment. It might change. I don't know. I mean, my business is changing exponentially day by day, and my direction on who my audience is changing day by day. And like, I was just having a discussion before I got here, and I'm like, how can I change my Twitch around to make it more engaging? And like, I'm always thinking of new ideas and new ways to engage people and really connect with them in a way that they want to see more of my work, and they want to do more with me almost, and follow that journey through with me. It's weird.
What I was, I guess, trying to kind of gently find out,
Sorry.
is no, it was me trying to be subtle. Is, you know, because of the nature of your personal work that you don't show anyone. I mean, is there a time where you consider not doing children's books anymore and doing
maybe
something else, something maybe a bit more personally fulfilling?
Maybe.
You know, something that your heart's in.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. To answer that question, I think it's a hard thing for me to do, because I am personally invested in my children's books, but it's a different investment. Like, it feels really different. And I love what I do. Please don't think I don't love what I do, because I wouldn't do it.
I don't think anyone would think that.
Okay,
sometimes.
good.
Yeah.
I don't want anyone to think I don't love what I do, because I do. It's fire in my belly, you know. But if one day it evolved into being something else, that's fine. Like, if I don't do children's books anymore, that's fine. As long as I'm growing and creating as an artist and I'm able to make a living from it, this is like the business side of the brain coming out. It's like, I want to be one of those artists just that sells everything that they create, and everything's flippin' awesome, and they get lots of money for it because they really hit the nail on the head with what people, and people just love their art, you know. But I can't do that at the moment, you know. I have to have a way of making money. And the kids' books is mostly that. Yeah. At the moment. Obviously it's got the passion to it as well. I don't know. I think one day, maybe. And I think it would be fine if it evolved from that. If I had a different source of income.
There's definitely a passion there. I wish I was rich.
It would make things so much easier. Oh my gosh. I could do so many things.
You can see the passion, like, for the kids.
Yeah,
kids
it's a
illustrating.
Different kind of world.
There's something else that's maybe not being, I probably worded the question wrong. Something that your heart's in. Your heart's in the children's illustrating. But
it's in a different way.
There's another part of your heart that is not in there. Yeah.
Exactly. And I do feel like that sometimes, particularly even with, like, I do a lot of my children's book stuff on Twitch, because that's how I can kind of justify doing Twitch, because I don't make any money off it. I make a little bit, but it's a teeny weeny bit. who I am and what I'm creating on Twitch when it's not children's books is it's different, you know. It's a different kind of side of me, whereas I'm doing the children's books. It's, I don't know how to explain it. It's another side of me that I reserve for that specifically. Like when I do school workshops and things, like that's a part of Sunshine that comes out that isn't normally, because I don't talk to everyone like they're 8, you know? Like it's like not another persona, it's just another part of Sunshine that comes out. And I would be okay with that door closing if something else opened, you know? I'm definitely not against growing with wherever my business takes me. You know what I mean?
Oh,
yeah. I know what you mean though. I do know what you mean. It's an interesting, I'm learning so much about myself. It's lovely, Dave.
Well, hopefully I'm not like kind of stressing you out.
No,
thinking
it's making me think. I'm like, ooh, okay, yeah, cool.
Well, Sunshine, I think that's a perfect place to...
How long have we been going for? Whoa,
about an hour.
Wow.
Like
I could talk to you all day.
Actually, I don't have the memory card space. That's the only problem.
I feel you, my friend. I feel you.
But, thank you so much for coming along. This has been great. Look, we could have talked about
Thank you for
heaps
inviting
more.
me. It's just been lovely. Very chill, relaxed. You're a great interviewer. What else could I want? Honestly.
I still have trouble believing you, but yeah, I'll take it.
Stop it. Stop it. Leave that imposter syndrome alone, okay? Gosh.
Thank you, Sunshine.
Thank you for having me, Dave. Bye, everyone.